This is Diana Sullivan in Austin, Texas. Today I want to show how easy it is to do entrelac, that is basket weave knitting, on the knitting machine. I have two pattern books with basket weave knitting patterns, and there are so many interesting things that you can make with entrelac. There are all kinds of fascinating projects that you can make with entrelac. And even though they look complicated, they're really simple. Now, each of my books has 2 hours of high-definition video because there are all these projects to show. But today I want to give you a little taste. We're going to make a circular entrelac pillow. On the bulky machine with waste yarn, cast on 72 stitches. Finish the waste yarn with the carriage on the right. Set the carriage, this is a bulky machine, to tension 6 and 2 short row settings. Then knit 2 rows of the first color of your 2-color checkerboard pillow. Now we're going to do a row of foundation triangles. You knit to the left. The machine will not knit the hold needles. You put one more needle in hold on the carriage side and knit 2 rows. You're going to want to claw weight under the knitting, and you're going to need to move it often. Then you put another needle in hold on the carriage side and knit 2 more rows. Another needle, 2 rows. You're going to continue to do this until only 1 needle is in work. When you get down to 1 needle, knit to the right. You want 9 stitches to knit now, so put the other 8 into upper working position, that's halfway back. Knit to the left and they'll knit. Then put those 9 needles into hold because you finished that triangle, and move the carriage to the right to reposition it to do the next triangle with 9 needles. Now let's do that second triangle double time. Keep making triangles in the same way all the way across the knitting. Now to scrap off the foundation triangles, you put the 9 stitches for a single triangle into upper working position, and you just knit a few rows with waste yarn. Cut the waste yarn. Drop the stitches off, move the needles out of work, and scrap off the next triangle. I'm getting them all scrapped off. Here's what these foundation triangles look like. With the triangle facing you, you're going to pick up the loops along the side edge, and you don't want to get the little knot. There's a knot and then a loop, a knot and then a loop. Pick up the loops all along. You need to pick up 9 loops. You put 9 needles out in the middle of the knitting machine, and that is the extent of the counting that you need to do. Now this row of triangles is going to be worked from left to right, and after you pick up the 9 needles, you pick up the first stitch from the waste yarn on the next bit of knitting to the right, and it's this stitch right here, and you hang it on the same rightmost needle, so there are still only 9 needles in work. With the second color, I knit 2 rows, and then I pick up the next stitch from the waist yarn, from that little group of stitches to the right, knit 2 rows, pick up another stitch. I keep using the rightmost needle. Don't let your block grow. It's always 9 needles all together. I'm going to continue to do this until I've picked up the last stitch, and then the last row is different. What's different on the last stitch is instead of knitting back to the left, I knit only 1 row, which positions me on the right, ready to do the next block. So here's a block knitted. I remove the waist yarn. It's the waist yarn on the side that I just used the stitches, and I'm going to scrap off with that waist yarn. I just unthread the machine, I don't cut the yarn, and hang the yarn under the edge of the machine and hand feed the waist yarn and scrap off. Until I'm out of waist yarn. Park on the left again because I continue to work from the left to the right. Now here I have a foundation triangle and a block. So the next edge to pick up is the other side of that triangle where I just got the stitches off the waist yarn. So I'm picking these up right here. What's circular about the project is I'm knitting a tube without any side seams. So I take this long strip of foundation triangles and I make a loop out of it without twisting it, and then my next triangle to pick up, because I was at the end of the string of triangles, is this one, and this will be the stitch that I get, this first one on the other end. Now let's do this next block double time, because it's done exactly the same way as the first block. There are 2 of the rectangles completed, and I'm just going to make rectangles all the way around in exactly the same way as the 2 I just made, scrapping off each time.